This morning on The Blend, we're joined again by Tara Peterson with Crenshaw Peterson. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Let's talk about your farming clients.
Yes.
Michigan is lots of rural communities in Michigan.
Lots of rural, yes.
What are some additional things that farmers need to specifically consider when doing their estate plans?
Yeah, so they have a few little eccentricities over there on the farms, right? So our farmers, very typically, as they age, they continue to own the land. So mom and dad / grandma, grandpa own the property, but their child and sometimes even grandchildren are actually farming the property. And so we need to make sure that we have an estate plan that reflects that. And how that division is going to take place, because in those situations it's very rarely just 1/3 to all the kids, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's one person's livelihood. So how do we work that out? How do we value that? How are we going to divide that? Are they buying it out? Are they buying it out at a special rate? Are we putting it into a business where all the kids are going to get business interest? All those kinds of things we have to take into consideration.
Lots to consider. Now let's talk about the farm itself. Are there ways to protect the farm property for long term?
Yes. So the other question we get a lot is, as grandma and grandpa age and they start looking at long-term care options, what happens to that big acreage farm, right? Because most people know and are aware that the house is a protected asset, but all that acreage isn't, right? So we need to make sure we've done something so that mom and dad / grandma, grandpa aren't having to sell that while their kids and grandkids are farming it in order to pay for long-term care. So because that's very typically some of their bigger assets. And the state is going to look at that as an available asset to pay for care. So we need to make sure we've protected that, provided for that, accounted for all the different ways that the family is going to look at that. And we don't want to create any family drama either.
Right.
That can come into play. So we want to be fair, but we want to be proactive. The sooner that we can get in to plan, the better.
So if they decide to use a business as part of the estate planning process, can they do that themselves?
They shouldn't. So all too often we see farmers, start an LLC, they file something with the state, they think they've put all the property into the LLC, and they're conducting their farm under the operations of that business. And unfortunately, maybe their bylaws didn't get finished, their articles didn't get filed with the state quite the way we want them to be filed, with the right people in charge to make sure it's not an issue on long-term care or on the estate side. So really working with an attorney to dot all the I's and cross all the T's is important.
And you can do that by getting a hold of Tara at CrenshawPeterson.com.